Describe what's going on in your organization and how the biggest problem you faced in your organization, and we can communicate on that kind of issue at length. We decided in WCA that what we wanted to do is to not simply have meet and greet, but to have a much more substantive kind of meeting where the problems in your organizations and the problems we have at WCA and IUAS can be intercommunicated, and we can deal to help one another. First, let me then talk about WCA just a bit here and what's been going on. As I think all of you know, the World Council of Anthropological Associations consists of anthropological associations from around the world, and you are the delegates of that organization. It's an integral part of WOW, which is the World Anthropological Union. As of 2023, there are 56 member associations representing tens of thousands of anthropologists in their membership. One key element of WCA has been to work to create a level playing field for anthropologists from around the world to counteract the effects of Anglo-American hegemony, which are effects that are often unwitting, but nonetheless, they are real. What we seek to do at WCA is to make anthropology a truly global organization, a truly global discipline. Now, because of COVID-19, what's happened with WCA is the entire structure of our meetings has shifted. It used to be that the dominant business that we would conduct would be done at the meetings that we would have with IUAS in the context of IUAS. We would have meetings, WCA meetings that would last several days, where we would come together, make task forces, and so on. That era still continues, and I hope to do some of that in New Delhi in our upcoming meeting a couple of weeks from now. But I think we can conduct much more business by Zoom just because it's a lot cheaper. We don't have to fly someplace, and we can attend far more readily. So we have been having online delegate meetings a couple of times a year. I hope to make these 4 times a year at least, so that we can indeed communicate back and forth. Now, one of the major matters that WCA has been conducting is an online webinar series. It's been quite lively, having 4, 5, 6 of these a year, ranging from topics about human rights to anthropology in the natural world, to the war in Ukraine, to anthropology and gender, to anthropology and global hegemony, to anthropology and refugees, to a lot of additional topics. The last one was my own task force on global anthropology, making anthropology global, comparing the working conditions of anthropologists around the world. And we're going to have upcoming meetings too. Aside from that, WCA continues to publish on its website the yearly journal Déjà Lu, which Leah has been spearheading now, along with her co-editors. That's been going terrifically. Its latest issue has 43 articles in English and also in Spanish, German, Chinese, Japanese, and other languages. That's available on the WCA website. We also have the activities of the WCA task forces. The Making Anthropology Global Task Force has a long report of 44 pages on our WCA webpage. The Council on Publishing has organized 2 WCA webinars in 2023. There has also been the Task Force on Global Cultural Policies, which has come out with a special issue on anthropological perspectives on COVID, various other things. Virginia has been the recent task force manager, trying to get task forces to report more so that we don't have dormant task forces. Instead, these are indeed up to date. And that's been successful, I think. We've updated the website rather well in what we're up to. We also need to continue making new task forces. I have just been working on making a task force based on values in anthropology and how to convey these values to policymakers as well as citizens. Now, one more thing that WCA does is respond to global anthropological issues by writing letters to relevant authorities on matters ranging from the persecution of anthropologists around the world to statements about governmental policies affecting anthropology. We want to continue, and so any issues that affect you, by all means inform us, and we can indeed come up with letters. We can do anything to help you. I need to stress, just as I close here, that WCA exists for you. This is your association. Let us know in any ways that we can help you. You know, we do exist for you. You're paying money to belong, in theory, if not in practice. My association is small and we're not paying, so that may or may not be happening. But the point is, we do exist for you. We want to make life better for you in any way that we can. So please let us help you. Okay, now I turn over to Bella. You've got a couple of projects you want to talk about. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. as you have seen, WCA has lots of activities, but I think that I need to have my notes just a moment. I'm looking for my notes.
Are you screen sharing now? Is that?
Maybe, Bella, in the meantime, you can introduce yourself.
Yes. Well, I am
Okay.
Bella Feldman Bianco, and I am an elected member of the WCAOC, and I represent DIABA in this council. And as we have seen, WCA has developed multiple activities addressed to its anthropological members associations and to a wider public. And it grew very much. We have now 56 associations that presently form the council. However, nearly 20 years after its creation in 2004, we still face the challenge of stimulating more conversations and activities among the associations. It is instead that we propose to carry out two different types of projects that are still in process. We don't have anything ready, but it is time to propose to you. The first one that we are entitling Conversations Among World Anthropologists, that started as a dialogue between Lia Ferreiro and Francesca Delich, that are also elected members of the council, and myself. And we plan with this proposal carry out predominantly through a cycle of seminars to bring together associations in a way that we can build a collection of memories on the particular historical processes that have led to the creation of diverse anthropological associations, the production of anthropological knowledge, and the development of anthropological practices in specific locations around the world and in distinct social, economic, and political moments. From these viewpoints, we think that the seminar could be based on the members' associations' experiences, particularly with regards on how they have addressed or not pressing socio-political issues in their particular environments, both in the past and the present, with emphasis on how they have dealt with challenges, pressures, transformations, and achievements. And this is why the questions that we are putting today for the delegates about the pressing issues of our times, I think that can bring us more to know more about these associations and also the direction of these webinars. So this is like the first moment that we are presenting these proposals. And we are very much interested also in learning about the specificities of these diverse anthropologies and their experiences of participation in transnational networks and their contribution to the development of theoretical methodological paradigms. In each webinar, we can either invite a specific member association to make a presentation, or alternatively, and I think that I would prefer personally, prioritize dialogues between two or at the most 3 associations. So the idea is how to choose them. I think also the round of delegates, answers to the questions that we put can help us. But as we are starting a new project, we can really experiment very much. We can try to bring together associations of the global north and south, or we can have South and South. I think that the way that we experiment also will bring us knowledge how to develop better this webinars and this collection of memories. I think also, I don't know if the delegates of the newer associations that were recently affiliated to WCA are present, but I think that would be nice to start maybe the webinars with them. This is my idea just now, like the Lithuanian, the Nigerian, and the Greek. Well, we can think about the possibilities, and also I very much like to have your feedback. With what we intend with these webinars, we aim to start assessing, in a way, the extent to which WCA's original objectives are being achieved, as for instance, with regard to developing anthropologies independently from the hegemony of so-called central anthropologies in the past and the present, and also the exchanges and influences that central hegemonies, central anthropologies and the others that are not central mutually influence each other. I think that this is something that we should explore. And besides contributing to WCA's website by providing a collection of memories of anthropological associations, anthropological knowledge, production, and practices, and thus becoming a source of research, these webinars could also be, and we hope it will be, eventually published by the associations themselves in their journals or newsletter, or as podcasts, as a way of dissemination information on WCA and its memberships. And also would be great if this made way to associations plan joint activities. I think that by this way, and I represent all the people here, and this proposal was also read, and we had feedback from many friends in world anthropology. But I also think that this kind of project can make both WCA and the association stronger. The second proposal is a project for an international workshop or an international symposium on indigenous people, the environment, and the future of humanity. And although I am an expert of migration, I think that this, and also this theme implies immigration, dispossession, displacements. I think that this is a theme of really of our times. We are in this present juncture of global political economy, the conjunction between a variety of indigenous populations or traditional people in a more broader way, the environment, climate, and large development projects have been increasingly associated with the future of humanity. And I think that we as anthropologists have responsibility to contribute with research, public policy, and social action. And why these peoples in the margin, like indigenous people or the poorer people, have been in this juncture of capitalism displaced, dispossessed, and they also have seen their potential roles in the protection of the environment against climate change. So, and also, I am from Brazil, and at ABA we are very much, as Andrea Zuribo will talk, concerned with the need of increasing social action in the defense of indigenous territories, indigenous lives, human rights, and the ecosystem. But I think that, like, it's very important that we discuss both dispossession that has been happening since colonial times, and the destruction of the economy as social processes. And also, like, we need to, in summary, to make some assessment of what we know, what we need to know, what do we need to do in terms of research, public art, policy, and action. This is like a very short, because I think that I have only 7 minutes to talk, but I also think that it's important to think not only in terms of culture of economic, political economy, but this start to work on these issues in terms of combining studies of political economy and culture. And of course, when we talk about these issues, there are associations that come to mind, like, for instance, AES in Australia, DIABA, CASCA, CACI from Chile, CIAS from Mexico, ASAA, New Zealand, the American Association of Anthropology. But I think that would be important, and also this Maxi really alert me, that we have not to have only associations that are focusing on these issues, but also other associations that maybe are not dealing with indigenous people, but are dealing with peasants' precarity, and to start really bring it together. We're having some meetings, and this is my ABBA friends really. Yeah. It's time for me to stop. I'm finishing. My ABBA friends really advise me that we have to have meetings with the associations to be able to write a proposal for an international symposium or international meeting. And one of the results would be the publication of a book, and also really subsidize research, public policy, and so on. Thank you very much.
Okay, Bella, now what do you do from here? Do you want to get sign-ups? Do you want people to sign up for these different wonderful ideas? How would you like to recruit for this?
I think that the idea is that this is not only my idea, that we work together.
Okay. And you're right, and several of you, Francesca, I know, and Leah are particularly keen on this, but it might be a good idea to put something in the chat saying, put these 3 proposals you presented in the chat and just have people sign up if they're interested. Would that be a good idea, do you think?
I'm sorry, I don't know what are you proposing.
Okay, if you put simply the first proposal you did in chat, and say who is interested, then the second proposal who is interested, and then the third proposal who is interested, you could get people to sign up. Are you interested in doing that now?
Gordon, why don't you write it? Why don't you write it in the chat? I think that would be easier.
Yes, I will do this. I will.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And I think that meanwhile, I think that we can start with asking, I don't know what you think, Leah, Francesca, and Gordon, and everybody else, but we can start. I can put it in the chat, but I think that I have something written that I can put in the chat, but I also think that would be interesting.
Let's start.
That we start with the round of delegates talking about the best
The priorities. Yes, that's I believe it's better to start with describing the priorities of the associations.
Yeah.
Yes.
So because we have some, then we will have more time, and also you can also give some feedback in relationship to what we presented here. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, and that's good. So we could sign up after the different delegates talk about their own situations. Then I think we could indeed do recruiting for what you're talking about. The idea that we all brought you together for today, though, is we would like you to talk about the problem, the biggest problem that your association is facing. We say, what are the pressing issues that your association has faced in the course of the last 5 years, and how have they shaped the decisions that have been made? That's what we're asking you for. Each one of you, take 3 minutes, maybe 4, and tell us what's going on. I guess we'll go around the room. Who goes first?
You decide, Gordon.
Andrea, you go first.
Yes, it's me.
Go
Okay.
by alphabetical order.
Okay.
doesn't
Z or A, first or last.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's good. I can start because I can follow a little bit what from what Bella just has suggested. I understood there are 2 proposals from Bella, isn't it? I just want to say first that ABBA would subscribe to both of them. So we support both of them. I think we have a challenge here that we really, anyway. So I'm Andrea Zuri. I'm the president of the Brazilian Anthropology Association, which is a technical and scientific association with a history marked by the inseparable nature of its practice and the defense of fundamental rights in Brazil. It is almost 70 years old. It was founded in 1955, and it is the largest anthropological association in Latin America with more than 2,400 members. Although its existence throughout its existence, ABBA has played a vital role in providing technical and scientific support for the recognition of the rights of ethnic minorities and marginalized communities, consistently taking a stand against social injustice and in favor of promoting human rights. These rights have often been threatened by the project of the nation state in Brazil, especially through programs aimed at economic growth. Indeed, in the last 2 decades, there have been strong pressures on the territories of indigenous and traditional peoples and quilombola communities, as well as on ecosystems relevant to the conservation of biodiversity, especially in the Amazon region. The so-called development projects such as mining, agribusiness, or infrastructure such as dams and roads have been granted with increasing social and environmental pending issues. This has resulted in a gradual process of environmental deregulation and has increased inequalities along with social environmental conflicts and violence. This movement has intensified over the last 6 years, leading to institutional dismantling and systematic review of numerous rules and legislation created even before the 1988 Constitution. Such a scenario presents challenges for initiatives pro-sustainability and climate security, as well as the fight against inequalities and environmental racism in Brazil. The ABBA's main goal includes the production and dissemination of knowledge towards the strengthening and rebuilding of democratic institutions, as well as the design of public policies into new patterns concerned with equity in an enlarged perspective, considering class, gender, race, ethnicity, and so on. The analysis and support of anti-racist policies and those in favor of sexual, religious, cultural, and academic freedom in the pursuit of environment and climate justice is a priority for ABBA in these years. Anthropology is a kind of knowledge that offers fruitful tools for building bridges that broaden the horizon of equity and sustainability, especially in the current political context, Brazilian context. We have acted in collaboration with other scientific associations to overturn the neglect of science, public universities, and the weakening of mechanisms for social participation that has taken place in recent years in the country. Partnerships with international institutions such as WCAA are of the utmost importance to support and reverberate actions at home. Although we have had a change of government, our Congress is extremely conservative and has put forward agendas that run counter to important constitutional achievements. We believe that WCAA can contribute to the development of a research agenda about issues that cut across different countries, especially in the South, as well as provide support for actions that are aimed at the protection of human rights, the environment, and above all, the rights of indigenous groups and peasant groups. Through seminars, workshops, public statements, letters to authorities, and so on. And so this is our statement at the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrea. And you and Bella are both, of course, from Brazil, and that has shaped what you're saying, but that was very eloquently stated. I'm trying to follow it roughly alphabetically, and I think we're a lot of A's here I can see, but Andrew Muggsy Spiegel, you're next, South Africa.
Hi, Gordon. I'm here as an advisory committee member, not as a delegate representing them. So I'm not going to say anything. I think that's probably his job.
Yeah, you're welcome to him anyway. We're informal, but if somebody chooses not to say anything, that's also fine. So, yeah, okay.
But
So
Gordon,
then
maybe Kobani could. He's also current. I know he's a newly elected member of the OC, but he's also president of USNA, right?
Yeah.
Kobani?
Okay.
Yeah.
Kobani. We break alphabetical order, but Kobani, you go on since you two are South African. Speak up.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm joining from my phone because we had a power cut, so excuse the skewed angle. So hi, everyone. My name is Kobani, as correctly said, and I'm the president of Anthropology Southern Africa. So we represent over 7 Southern African countries. And our mission is really threefold. Number one, which is to really promote anthropology in Southern Africa, to support anthropological research, as well as promote the dissemination of anthropological knowledge. So we also publish the flagship journal, Anthropology Southern Africa, which has grown from strength to strength. So I'll be very direct in terms of the challenges we faced. And the major one is issues around finances. Because this year was actually the first year that we were able to hold our conference in person. The last one was in 2019. So this means that for about 3 years, we haven't been able to generate income generation the conference and so on. We've had a really successful membership drive recently, nearly 3 times the membership we inherited when we started over. The association is really growing lively. We hosted the biggest conference we've ever hosted a few weeks back in the Western Cape. Super successful. I guess where we would need support is advice from colleagues on organizations or funders we could potentially approach. We've been able to make some really good headway in terms of fundraising, but definitely not as far as we still need to go. So I think that's one area I would highlight for assistance from colleagues. So whether it's any ideas for helping us generate more income, ideally at a more rapid pace than we are at the moment. I'll stop there. Thank you, colleagues.
Yeah, but money then is the single biggest problem you're saying. Is that right,
Yes.
Kobani?
Yes, I would definitely say money at the moment is the biggest problem that we are dealing with.
Yeah, I see. And to some extent, that's a general global North, global South problem, but you've said it particularly. Yeah. Thank you. Next, I see more A's. Anna Ivashek, if you could speak up, please.
Sure, thank you very much. My name is Anna Ivasiuk. I have been still recently elected as president of the European Association of Social Anthropologists. I would like to bring up 2 topics today. The first one can be seen under the lens of a problem that we are dealing with in our association, I think at large in academia, which is the precarity of most of our members, which of course has financial impacts in the sense that we only hold a biannual conference and our income fluctuates quite strongly between conference years and non-conference years because of that. We have so many precarious members who cannot even afford to pay the very low membership fees that we have in non-conference years. I also have to say that out of the 8 members of the executive committee, 2 of us in particular are affected by precarity as well. Myself as president and the vice president. My contract at my current university ends in 3 months. Just to give you an idea of the fact that precarity affects all of us, and precarity affects the functioning of associations as well. I very much hope to be able to continue my activity as president of the ASA. But it really is a matter that needs to be dealt with at the highest levels and in community. So that's the first thing that I really want to emphasize as a problem that we all face. And I don't think it's of course much more accentuated in the global south, but in the global north, it is also a very big issue. The second issue that I want to address, and I want to make you all aware of a late breaking session that I have proposed at the upcoming AAA Casca conference in Toronto, and I'll paste in chat the Google document on which we worked. It's a panel in which the idea was to gather the leadership of the major regional or global anthropological associations. And the panel, the roundtable is called Anthropology Facing the Global Rise of Fascism. So responsibility, solidarities, and collective action. And here, please let me thank for start those of you who have agreed to take part in this roundtable. So Bella, thank you so much for having accepted. Carmen Rial, who's here with us as well, has kindly accepted to be the chair of this roundtable. We also have Monica Heller, who is the president of Casca, and Bernard Perlet, who is the president-elect of Casca, and on behalf of the AAA, we have Gabriela Vargas Cetina, who has also kindly accepted. We have also involved an early career scholar who is a member of our EASA Anthropascisms network, whose name is Nicolas Petel-Rochette. So please, if you attend the AAA Casca conference in Toronto, do join this roundtable. And my idea is also, in collaboration with all of you, to come up with a strong answer to the global rise of fascism. As the rise of fascism is global, I think that so needs to be our response to it. It's affecting us all from Brazil to India to North America and Europe. So this is one of the proposals that I have for you today, to start working on a concerted answer that would not be only a declaration, because I think at the declarative level, we're all in agreement here. We have to take a very concrete stance against the rise of fascism. But it's starting really to affect our classrooms. The students start to embrace fascist ideologies. How do we respond to that? How do we respond to that as anthropologists? How do we respond to that as pedagogues, as teachers? And how do we respond to that as associations with our membership? I'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much.
Well, it's interesting, Anna, because you spoke over 2 separate issues: precarity, which is one, and how is that's almost insolvable given larger economic realities. But certainly the other issue you brought up was the issue of fascism, and we've been in communication about that, and that obviously is a big issue. Although, as I think we've discussed, for me in Hong Kong, it's communism and not fascism. It's the enemy, but nonetheless, your point's well taken. Yeah, thank you. Okay, next, Anna. Anna Bolin, please.
Yes, hi, thank you very much. My name is Anna Bolin. I'm the president of the Swedish association called Sant. It was founded in 1991. And since then, it has been a primarily kind of academic association. And one of the topics that I wanted to mention is what we have worked quite hard with in the last 5 years, which is to make the association more relevant for anthropologists outside the academy that are active there. So we've done a number of things on that related to kind of communication. We have updated the homepage. We have broadened the membership to also include undergraduate students. We have more social events and so on. So that's something that we worked I think, quite successfully on, and it's tied to what Kobani mentioned, of course, the need for more funding. And we see all that. We hope that this will eventually, increase the membership and thereby also increase the revenue, so we might be able to employ an administrator, which is our dream. And the other issue, these are much more mundane issues, but I really appreciate what you raised now, Anna. I mean, we've talked about that as well, but not formulated as something that we need to tackle as an association. But I think it's really reminded of that we might need to do that. So I really appreciate that. But the other issue I wanted to say was what we're facing in Sweden is this ethics approval system. But I think that's probably quite particular to Sweden. But if any of you have any advice on debates that you've had on ethic approval processes in your country, if you might just put them in the chat, I would appreciate it. We have a working group set out with that, but this is more for traditional academic research. But there are just insane regulations on how the kind of ethic approvals that we need, and I guess some of you might recognize some of that. So I will leave it at that. Thanks.
Anna, just to fill it in, do you mean an overly strict ethics approval that prevents anthropological research from being done? Is that what you're referring to?
Pretty much, and they use the same standards to assess natural science, medicine, and so on. Of course, that is impossible with the kind of open-ended research that we're doing, which we share with a lot of the humanities and social sciences, but it's particularly pressing for anthropologists. And we have a central authority that processes these applications. And as far as I believe, that doesn't happen in other countries. So we're trying to address that. So any help or ideas would be appreciated.
Yeah, this is completely fascinating thus far. These different issues coming up. I'm really happy we're doing this, and thank you, Bella, for bringing up this idea. I'm learning a lot. Thank you, Antonio.
Hello, everyone. Hope you find you well. Well, I'm Antonio, I'm vocal member of the IMA, Instituto Madrileño de Antropología of Madrid. And we are challenging those days with new generations. We are having a lack of members. We were like 100 like 5 years ago. Nowadays we are 22, 23, 25. So we decided to change the board. We hire new generation people. I am the one who continues because I'm still doing an activity of at the National Museum. Is a film festival of anthropological films and seminars. So we have hired a new generation member who can control the networks and the social networks, and we try to reach other people from universities and general public. It seems that it's not working very well. We created the professionalism thematic group. It seems that he's working, but he's more working in LinkedIn, and we are not getting new members. But in LinkedIn, there are kind of a movement because we are proposing jobs for anthropologues and new generation and students, but it's not enough. It's not enough. I say the main activity of the IMA is the MAM, La Muestra de Antropología Audiovisual de Madrid. This film festival I told you before is going to be in November, full moon of November, and it's an activity that is not financed by nobody. So me with some friends, we are pushing it. This year is going to be the 9th. And we are working with the CAFIs, the Coordinating Anthropological Film Festival of Europe, to see if we can manage to get some financing resources, but I think we are not getting anything. So anthropology in Spain is having a kind of 2 weeks ago, we have the National Congress, and there were very few people, not as we desire. The problem is the people is going to do their seminar and to get the notes and the records for being teacher, and there is not creating new anthropology. They are not trying to face new problems. I am the one who is not in the academic. I am outside the academy. I work also in that academy, but doing seminars as a regular teacher. So I'm pushing a lot of the anthropology, trying to visualize through the exhibition. But we are challenging many problems and new generation. We have a lot of competition with entertainment, and it's not easy to achieve them or to I don't know, convince them to study cultural things. So that's my X-ray of the situation.
Well, Antonio, your position outside of the academy gives you a fairly remarkable vantage point that many of us don't have. You need to reach the public in a way that many of us are, to some extent, sheltered from. So it's great to hear that. It's great to hear from you. This is a large problem. How do we reach the larger public? But you're directly in the face of that. So.
But using the new tools we have to communicate ourselves, we cannot still doing papers, or we cannot still doing books, because new generation they are not giving us moment and time for reading. So what I'm doing through Anthropodoxan Films, my company, is doing some kind of small capsules of 10 seconds, 5 seconds, and try to reach them, and then to create a motivation to go forward to look for in the webs for more information, visual, reads, papers, but it's difficult to reach this new. And this 2 years ago, I created the SAFA, the South Anthropological Film Archives, same as NAFA. I created in Lisbon like 3 years ago in the National Congress, and I want the European South countries to prepare to have a film archive for students to have a tool of educational tool, and to expose them that they can be anthropologists. The only thing they have to do is to change the way they expose the information, always doing the same methodology, epistemology, but with this rigorousness, not only because people are getting very influencers without any methodology. Or so this is our goal right now. And outside the academy, I can move around, I can do things. And when I try to push people from academy to do things that are over, they have a lot of work to do, so they cannot, without money, without income, without motivation, economic motivation, people in the academy, they don't have time, really.
Yeah. Well, thank you. The last of A's, A. Jaime Sades. Okay. Turn up your mic if you can. We can't hear you.
Good.
No, you're mute.
Oh, hold on.
Is that better?
Yes, now we can. Yep.
Okay. I'm the chair of the executive committee of the Anthropology Association of Ireland. In a kind of normal year, we would typically have about 80 to 100 members. It has really two large constituent departments, one in Belfast in the north of Ireland, and one in Maynooth, although there are emerging programs in other universities. They wouldn't be a full degree granting, from bachelor's to PhDs. Unfortunately, we had a very bad COVID as an association, and we sort of the last committee spectacularly self-destructed. So we're very much in a rebuilding kind of phase. It's ironic in a bad way, in the sense that anthropology is actually stronger in Ireland than it's ever been. I mean, I've spent my career here, over 25 years. We have, students working in industry. We have, a voice in certain kinds of, let's say, problems or burden research, particularly with regard to things like, addiction, some degree of in other sorts of reaches. But our national association has all but disappeared. So I've been tasked with doing that. I started in the beginning of this year. We hope to have a conference early next year, and I hope to have, like, let's say, more cheerful news to report. But for the most part, it's a, up until COVID, it was a small functioning anthropological association that ran 2 conferences a year, and we're trying to get back to that point.
Well, one thing that you're bringing up, Jamie, is the fact that among us all assembled here, we run from minnows like Ireland and Hong Kong to giants like Brazil in terms of the numbers of anthropologists. And the problems are going to be somewhat different, let alone the United States, as Virginia knows. So, that's one of the interesting things of WCA, that the problems of an anthropological association with 20 people are going to be very different from those from an association with 8,000 people. But we've all got to come together, obviously. Yeah. Interesting points. By the way, the chat is really on fire with a lot of great ideas. So please keep writing. That's why we're here. Who's next here? I can pick somebody. Dorothy, go ahead, please.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. I had to unmute. Okay, I'm representing the Italian Society for Cultural Anthropology, which really has a strong academic focus. However, one thing in the last couple of years, our association has really wanted to strengthen the ties with the other Italian associations that have more specific thematic focuses, the Society for Medical Anthropology, for practicing anthropologists, for applied anthropology, and for cultural heritage and museum anthropology. So our association has 300 odd members, and in Italy, anthropology is a very small discipline. And I think one issue for us is just maintaining a presence in the university system, a foothold in there, and making sure that we don't get swallowed up by the sociologists. So this is an important aspect, and we've been engaged in the last few years with the Italian ministry in some of the decision-making processes regarding various disciplines in the Italian university system, with the ongoing reforms, and redefining and modernizing our own self-description, carving out our place in the system. One final aspect I would mention is dealing with audit culture. It really weighs on us a lot in the Italian system, and it seems to just keep getting worse and worse. And it would be nice to network with colleagues from other associations if you have strategies for dealing with that or rebelling against it in some way. But it seems to be a problem that's common to a lot of humanistic disciplines, not only anthropology. So I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. We've also tried to expand our public presence as anthropologists by encouraging our members to publish in a lot of the important national dailies, the daily newspapers. So we, in the past couple of years, we've engaged with debates in Italy on family and the so-called natural or normal family, about race. Yeah, so we've had a bit of public presence, but I think there's always room for increasing our impact. That's it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Interesting themes you brought up, Dorothy. One is that I've heard elsewhere too of the encroachment upon anthropology by sociology, which very often happens to anthropology's detriment. And then the other issue is essential, which is audit culture. And Muggsy just commented on audit culture. That is something that is not quite universal. I know some societies that don't have it, but clearly it's gotten worse and worse and worse. That would be a great topic for a task force, but it's hard to see how we can solve it given that the way the world's moving in. We all seem to be spending all of our time writing about what we're doing rather than actually doing it. That's the world we're in, but what can we do?
Yeah, with the audit culture, I'm in a generation, and Francesca too, that we saw the situation shift radically from almost zero accountability to a hyper audit culture on steroids. And so that's what we're dealing with nowadays. And I mean, on a personal level, I just try to do consciousness raising with colleagues when we're doing this kind of work, and this is encroaching on us. I say, well, let's not just follow it blindly. I mean, let's always keep in mind the context here, what we're doing, and these processes. I guess it's just a small drop in the ocean, but I'm eager to exchange ideas with colleagues on how to cope with this audit culture thing. Thank you.
Well, consider coming up with a task force. We're always looking for interesting task forces in WCA. So aside from Bella's proposals, there's that too. So write us if there's any task force that comes to mind. C's left, Christiana.
All right. Well, thank you. Greetings to everyone. I'm here representing the Anthropological Association of Portugal, and we have a lot in common with Italy, more than with Spain. We are vital. We have been in business for over 30 years, and we have near 700 affiliates, which for a very small country is quite expressive. Now, we have the usual problems of economic sustainability. We have a meeting, national meeting every 3 years. Those years, they flood the memberships and we get the money to stay on foot for the next few years. We have part-time permanent administrator. This was something achieved by the previous direction with Clara, and that helps us very much. We have a site that keeps active, and we have forums that are open. We try to represent the non-academic as much as the academic membership. So we try to have forums on a variety of matters that are of public interest, and we keep them in parallel with the academic interventions. We we participate as much as we can in international networks, and we even supported the birth of the small and young Anthropology Association of Galicia, part of Spain, and they have a special relationship with us. We have a super special relationship with the Brazilian Association, which is of a totally different scale and with different problems, but we learn a lot from that, from the other associations. I just got elected a few months ago, and we had several candidates. It was a very lively election, and we have 5 lines of action. The intervention on public sphere, and for that we could have some help sharing materials on the relevance of the discipline, even though we have site-specific or local-specific issues, and we intervene on them, personally, much like what's said for Italy on issues that involve cultural diversity, which involve migrants hosting, which involve things of dispossession that are shared with other disciplines as well. Number 2, professionalization and acknowledgement. The professional anthropologist is often subsumed under or as a variety of sociology, and that has consequences that are not so good for us. We sometimes disappear bureaucratically under sociology. That has been a target of intervention, and we are negotiating it, especially with the funding agency that ranks funding and the quality of the establishment. It's so part of the audit culture, gone a little beyond the willing of the institutions. We saw line of action integration of student activities, students in our interventions, and that we can also appreciate the sharing of experiences with other institutions. the teaching of anthropology as a discipline in high school level has been target of action because the discipline is very appreciated in some schools, but it depends on a number of factors that also include the acknowledgement of us as professionals able to teach the discipline. So that's a thing we're working on. And most of all, keeping the discipline autonomous, like different from sociology, which sometimes tends to happen out of bureaucracy, and to keep it plural. We have a number of associates that are biological anthropology. It's like part of us, whereas archaeology and linguistics are not, are in different associations. And we are having finally change in the funding agency, main funding agency, that is ready to restore the autonomy we once had. So this is mostly it. We are thankfully not facing political prosecution, not at the moment. We don't know what the European politics will turn into. We face the same problems as Anna listed in terms of precariousness. It's like a general problem that affects us as affects other disciplines, but we are very, very much aware of that. Okay, I think I passed my 3 minutes. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Christiana. And one element of what you're talking about, there's lots of comments now about the audit culture, and I would like to mention the link of the audit culture to Anglo-American hegemony, because often being audited asks for where you're being cited. The highest citation ranked journals tend to be Anglo-American, so they are all linked in a very curious sense, and we have to be aware of this. It's like Morgan and Tyler intellectually are now replicated institutionally in the audit culture in some curious sense, which is too bad, but that's what we see, and that's something that we need to fight. Yeah, great comments, everybody. Now, Simone just left, unfortunately, because she was busy. I hope next time we do this, I'm not going to use alphabetical order. Just anybody speaks whenever you can. That's far better. Who wants to go next? What about, okay, yeah, please go ahead. Pataraki, speak up.
Okay. Can I go on?
Yes, I'm here. Okay.
Oh, okay. No, go on.
Thank you. Actually, my name is Mimina. Pataraki is the surname.
Sorry.
I'm very glad to be here with you. It's our first time to talk with you. I am the president of the board of the Association of Social Anthropologists in Greece. Our association is very new. It's just 3 years old. While academically, anthropology in Greece it's more than 35 years old, actually. But anyway, the big issue for our association is to present anthropology and anthropologists to Greek society, to provide as much visibility we can about our people, because we're a lot of anthropologists actually in Greece. However, we were a little bit late to collaborate, to make the association, and unfortunately, it's really big, the problem of precarity. That's why this year, we try to unite our voice with other people about how unemployment, actually how the state acts from unemployed as researchers to work as volunteers, to give, that is, unpaid work just to produce their CVs. So we said that this is not a problem only for anthropologists, while we have a lot of it in our association. We feel it a lot, and we try hard for this, but we believe that we have to unite our voice with the rest of the society, with the rest of people that they live in precarity, they don't have work, they cannot find a work that they have been educated for it. Okay, there are several work to do, but this is not what you have tried a lot in your life to do. So we try to make it public this year, because the only research center for social scientists ask from researchers, academic researchers, to work without money. And we believe that this is something that every unemployed person can feel it. So we raised it a lot. We tried to make it public. We're going to organize next May an open international conference talking about these things, discussing about these things, trying to collaborate the academic and the professional part of our association, because we're not only an academic association. The thing is that if I can express a way how you can help us, I think that it's the better way to be with us if we can organize the meeting in person or not next May in Greece, in Thessaloniki, close to our conference, or another meeting out of our conference, because we believe that we have to make it allowed to have a strong voice in Greece generally, and to go side by side with other associations, and not thinking that we are just working for ourselves. We're not working for ourselves. We are there because anthropology and anthropologists can help a lot, can contribute to difficult and very uncertain times that we are living at this period, not only Greece. Thank you very much.
Well, and Mimena, you're dealing with a fundamental issue. There certainly are more than a few bureaucrats, policymakers who think that anthropology is unnecessary in the world, and becoming increasingly unnecessary because of the larger statistical reality that they view as the reality. So yeah, this is an ongoing fight, and it's happening all over the world. And probably it's becoming ever more worse these days. So yeah, we've got to fight that. Absolutely. Yeah.
I wonder if there is a representative of the Norwegian Association of the Anthropologists. That would be nice to hear them, because they are actually, I think, the only nation where anthropologists that get a lot of jobs, much more than sociologists. But I don't know if they are here.
Yeah. I was talking to Thomas Highland Erickson about this last week, but yes, he's not here now, unfortunately. Absolutely. That's what he often talks about. Somehow the magic formula they've got is one that we all need to replicate. But yes.
That was Frederick Bart's tradition.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Gustavo.
Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here. I see so many good friends from different continents. I'm sorry I can't stay much longer, but I'd like to say that I'm very glad that this is going on, that this meeting is highly representative of what the World Council should be, and that I'm glad to hear there are different projects on the table, new projects, and the idea is to keep us together. It was always this idea. We know that anthropology goes through different junctures, and this one we're going through is not particularly very positive. I think there are way too many causes to be discussed. One of them, Moxie already mentioned, that is the rise of rightist politics in many countries in the world. The other thing has to do, I think, with this very tool we are using here. Is the internet has created the idea that social reality is transparent. So why do we need social scientists when actually we need social scientists more now than ever? But this is our task, is to convince people that this is true, and it's not an easy task, because we know most of the time we are critical of our societies or of our politicians or our elites of our states, and this is obviously not welcome by many powerful forces. So it's an ongoing struggle, and the WCAA has the most important role in this struggle. Sorry, I have to go, but I'm a professor too. I have to teach, as many of you, and really good to see you. Thank you for the opportunity, Gordon, to say some words to these highly representative colleagues from all over the world. And keep well.
Gustavo, just say whom you are. Gustavo, just say whom you are representing. When you introduce yourself, you didn't say it.
I'm not representing anyone. I think I'm a member of the advisory council, right?
Yeah, well, just for anybody who doesn't know, Gustavo founded this association, so I think that, yeah.
I say you should say that, Gustavo.
Yeah, I think it's good if people say, you know, in 1 or 2 words what they were, what they are, so that the others who don't know them, you know,
what the purposes of the council was?
No, it's okay. Just you live in Mexico City now.
Oh, where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've been living in Mexico almost for 10 years now, so I got pretty much Mexicanized. But I'm Brazilian. I retired from the University of Brasilia. I'm also a member of this the board of the Brazilian Association of Anthropologists, as all former presidents are. That's a good way to keep the memory of the association. Although some people claim that, oh, these old guys, they want to run the association, but that's another issue. Anyhow, we are very careful not to intervene in the way the new generations are doing their business, because I mean, I think we should be radically democratic in any kind of anthropological association. If we are not democratic, who is going to be, right?
Well, thanks. And Gustavo, one part of the radical democraticness is, I think anybody in the advisory board, you know, people in the organizing committee, you're welcome to speak up. We don't only need privileged delegates. Delegates, I suppose, are first priority, but everybody should speak up. Now, thanks, Gustavo. That was great to hear your background. We've got several people who haven't talked yet, and I don't want to shut out anybody in the time we.
Yes, PJ hasn't talked.
PJ, speak up. Yes.
From Nigeria, yeah. Thanks very much indeed for the opportunity. The fact that you can't see my video is part of the problem we are talking about. Because if you ask me to summarize the problem of Nigerian anthropology, I would list those problems as infrastructure, history, and of course, finance. Infrastructure aspect seems to be a continent-wide thing as far as Africa goes. My brother Kubani had talked about inability to use the bigger system and resort to his phone. Now, when we were beginning the meeting, I was able to have a video and spoke with the chairman and spoke with Michelle. Somewhere along the line, I have lost it. It is that way. Kubani lost his power. You know, there was a power cut. So that's infrastructure. It's a huge problem. But as it turns out, this problem is not peculiar to anthropology. That seems to be a general one. And there don't seem to be anything someone from outside or a group from outside can do about it until leaders decide that this is what tackling. History, I think history is the bigger headache. But again, it turns out to be what we should, I hope I'm even, the voice is getting through, is it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So now history is the big problem. Except that, again, it is what we should take up as practitioners within the country. Anthropology was used in a very ill-advised way during colonization, and it rubbed off in what began to happen after independence. Our Italian colleague talked about being swallowed up by sociology. Indeed, it happened here. It happened so that what we are now struggling to do is to get sociology to vomit anthropology out, because they have as good as swallowed it. But I want to say that if there was certain inaction on part of anthropologists, that inaction belongs slightly to the past, our colleagues of the older generation. The generation I'm working with, has taken it up as a challenge, and they think they can confront it. ISON, or the equivalent of it, never existed until 6 years ago. The nearest we came to it was a continent-wide association that I used to represent to, that is called PAAA, for the entire Africa. But if we are going to be effective, I think it should also go into specific countries. That's the association, the collaboration of anthropologists. And when we started as ISON, the result didn't take time in coming. 2 universities, we have been able to interact with their management to bring in anthropology as a freestanding discipline. The last place we went, we were promised that there will be anthropology as part of Department of Archaeology. We are planning another meeting, another conference for November. And I have talked with management of that university, and they have on the drawing board starting the Center of Cultural Studies. Indeed, I should be doing a write-up for Michelle's newsletter, where I'll be talking about that conference. Yes, history is working against us, but our effort to rewrite the position of anthropology, we are very determined on that and think it is working. Yes, there is the final aspect of finance. Now, we found that finance alone, finance per se, may not be able to improve the situation of anthropology for 2 reasons. One, even if we get financial assistance from outside, it depends on how determined practitioners are to be able to make use of that assistance. And there's evidence that this is so. I looked at records and found that in 70s, in 90s, there used to be grants. When agrarian, other groups, but that was at the level of PAAA. But I can't see something on the ground that showed it was actually used to push the interest or the need to tackle the needs of anthropology. So yes, by all means, assistance financially from outside, but I think—
sorry, PJ, 30 more seconds.
Yes,
30 more.
I think,
yeah.
Yes, so what I want to say then is that the assistance we need from outside, it seems we are getting it already, which is the support WCAA, which is the support IUAES is already giving. Something interesting happened 2021 when we collaborated with our colleagues from South Africa, WCAA and the PAAA, to hold the Namibian conference. I think being part of the global community of anthropologists seems to be the sort of support that we need. And,
great, Jay, and
yes,
you do, and I think that works nicely. That's a great way to end this. What you say about history and colonialism is essential to remember. It's also true that you brought up something key that we keep forgetting. I mean, I keep thinking that Zoom evens us all out. No, it doesn't, because you still have the power outages in Nigeria. We can't see your face. Kobani is gone. We still are in an unequal world, even when we're all using Zoom, and that's important to remember. But thanks for that. Yeah. I noticed several people who haven't talked. Sylvia, yes, speak up.
Hi, I'm here representing the Argentine Association, which is called Colegio de Graduados en Antropología. So, of course, from Argentina. And I think I coincide with some of the other members, such as Ana Basiuk and many others on the problems we face. And Lia Ferrero here, who's also from Argentina, would probably agree, which have to do with the precarity of access to jobs for anthropologists. Also, the dwindling number of students who are entering universities to study anthropology is really remarkable right now. And the third is something that several of you mentioned, and we are very concerned in Argentina, which is the rise of the right and the implications of the rise of the right to social sciences. Here, there's been a lot of criticism already from the right on how useless anthropology is and the kind of studies anthropologists do. And that means if the right wins, we hope not, but if it wins, it will be cutting funding for the social sciences, because they've said it right away. We'll be cutting all the funding for this useless things that social scientists do. And also that young people, someone also mentioned it, a lot of young people, the European Association mentioned it, a lot of young people, which wasn't that typical in Argentina for young people to tend to the right, you see an increase of that. And I think it's really a major challenge to anthropology worldwide, I think. So I just wanted to mention that.
Well, thank you, Sylvia. I personally, again, seeing communism in Hong Kong is the big threat, and we may be closed down because of the communist Chinese government, which I suppose has some kinship with fascism. That's a whole other issue to bring up in terms of any totalitarian government, but it's interesting hearing that. Now, I also see Skilty here. Are you from the Philippines, Skilty?
Yes, yes, I am. Good evening.
Please
It's actually almost midnight here in the Philippines.
Yeah, I'm glad you've waited for us. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. So I'm from the Anthropological Association of the Philippines, which is actually one of the older ones. I guess we're 45 years old this year. But we're still a small organization. The population is 110 million, but our membership is we don't exceed 150 in any given year. So we're small, but we're surviving in a way. The challenges for us mostly have to do with the lack of incentivization in the leadership positions of the organization, as for sure in most of the organizations as well here. But it's especially difficult for us because we don't have a lot of funds, so we can't pay staff to be part to do all the nitty-gritty administrative roles. So for the most part, it's usually the president and the executive director doing all of the work for the whole year. And so what we do is reserve our energy really for our annual conferences. So we hold it annually, and that's what makes us survive, because we get funds from the registration fees. So maybe I want to call for this body to I guess again to share ideas about how small organizations like us in developing countries can be supported. In a way, we are a member of the National Social Science Council in the Philippines, and we get minimal support financially for our conferences, but maybe there's also a version of that can be thought of from WCAA, where we can request some small grants to hold our events like our conferences. That can definitely be a big help. Another one that's also brought up by colleagues earlier is the rise of the right. In the Philippines, actually, the organization has been red tagged in the past few years because, of course, we work a lot with indigenous peoples, and the government is actually saying that, we are in collusion with the left in trying to convert the indigenous peoples to rally against the government. Thankfully, that died down a bit, but those forces in government are still there, so it's still a threat for us. So yeah, I think those two are the most urgent ones that the organization is facing, and I hope we can get some ideas from how those can be resolved. Thank you.
Well, this is fascinating, Skilty, because you and several of the Latin American associations here have a lot in common in terms of being seen as the left helping indigenous peoples and so on. It's wonderful seeing this as a world connection here. Beyond this, in small associations, we in Hong Kong are not developing world, but we have the same problem. How do we survive without a source of money? So this is common. Now, I have a note here from Virginia saying that Martin and Fernando, I was going to call on you guys next. I'm sorry I've left you out. Speak up, Martin and Fernando. Martin, you go first, and then Fernando.
Yeah, thank you. I have to leave soon. That's why I appreciate it. I represent the German Association of Social and Cultural Anthropology, an association that has been renamed some 8 years ago, right? So far, it has been called Völkerkunde. I spare you the heated debates that went along that, but now we are the Social and Cultural Anthropology Association. Now, there are two topics maybe that have been, and I've been elected president in July only, right? So, but I can say that over the last 5 years, there were two topics that have been at the forefront of concern. One is research data management, and the other one is ethics that Anna Bolin addressed. So in terms of research data management, we face the necessity to account for the preservation, archiving, and accessibility of data produced in and through publicly funded research projects, and to balance, on the other hand, the protection of our research partners. So that is an ongoing process, and we are trying our best actually to also rub shoulders with the European Anthropological Association in coming up with solutions that enable us to work further in these institutionalized infrastructures of funding and accountability, and on the other hand, to account for the necessity of anthropological research. The other one is a question of ethics and ethical clearance procedures. Over the last 6 years, we had several working committees working on that, and they have come up with several working papers and documents, guidelines that help to actually standardize procedures of ethical clearance and ethical reviews and accountability on the one hand, and on the other hand, to give much freedom as possible to the individual researchers. And I post a link. I think it is mainly in German, but I have to check if I find it in English too. Then perhaps what one could say is that over the last years, we see, especially among younger colleagues, a drive on rethinking the disciplines by rethinking the terms of cooperative knowledge production. So exploring and extending the tools, methods, and the procedures of cooperations with all the obstacles, not the least the obstacle that was mentioned about how to actually run projects with partners from outside the European Union and to actually share also financial resources, which is very difficult to do administratively in Germany at least. And on the other hand, the question of or the problem of mobility, right, and the visa regulations to actually make cooperative research work. I think this is among sort of the crucial debates that we were having over the last years. And then we have a new sort of initiative for public anthropology and trying to actually, through a network called Public Anthropology of our association and funded by the German Research Foundation, to reach out and to address different public concerns and publics. And I would like to also sort of give to your attention the BOAS blogs we founded some years ago. So here we have like new forms of trying to bring younger and elder colleagues, people outside the academia and within, to actually debate certain issues of common concern between anthropology and the public. Then I think I also noted one more thing down here I wanted to address. Yeah, that is the question of the political right. So at the moment we see, if we're talking about public anthropology, that this is often associated with colonialism and with colonial collections. These public debates are paradoxically increasingly appropriated by the political right, framed as a protection of scientific and public institutions, as part of political campaigns against, for example, restitution procedures. So the question is really here of how to actually take up that challenge and dealing with the political right, actually trying to incorporate anthropology and its tradition for its own purposes. And this goes along with a recent tendency we just discussed today in our board meeting, that several funding institutions are increasingly refocusing research in the transatlantic global north. And that's a bit of a problem that we see, because anthropology is sort of sidelined, and cooperation with the global south that has been quite on the agenda for the last years is increasingly sidelined for more sociological research on European societies. And I think we have to be very careful not to be outrun here in a certain way as anthropologists in these public funding procedures in Germany, in Europe, and beyond. So I think I stop here.
Okay, Martin, you've said a lot of really important things. One thing, though, I just want to highlight is that issue of global north and global south interacting. And I know the Brazilians have been upset about this, very rightfully so, of where the global north is taking advantage of anthropologists in the global south, making them into informants and so on. That is a very crucial issue that more discussion needs to be made of, because there is an exploitation just because the money is in the global north, as you know. So yeah, thanks for saying that. Now, remaining, we have Fernando and then Leah. And then after that, before we stop, I want to let anybody who hasn't spoken up, particularly, well, anybody who hasn't spoken up, like Virginia or anybody else here who would like to say something. And then we'll close here. So we'll go a little bit beyond our allotted time. But Fernando, you and then Leah.
I also want to talk. I want to react to.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Okay.
We can't go on forever, but go ahead quickly. Yeah. Bella, you want to go now?
Oh. No, can you wait? Let Fernando go first.
Oh, I think that we have to listen to everyone. Fernando and Leah, and then I think.
Right. Okay.
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 Well, thank you very much. I'm I'm here as a member of the advisory committee as well. I'm not representing the Mexican CEAS, the College of Anthropologists and of Social Anthropologists and Ethnologists. However, since I don't see anybody from this association, I would like to say a word, because the reason I'm here is that I was the president of CEAS when CEAS joined the WCAA, and I actually represented CEAS at the Osaka meeting in 2008. So I think it's important that one of the reasons is probably that the problems the association is facing are very similar to what I've heard here, and that's that funding and generational change is affecting the association in a very significant way, mainly because a lot of people working in anthropology in Mexico used to be attached to academic institutions, and academic institutions have not been offering many new research and teaching positions. So the association has now a lot of people working on other areas, and that makes very difficult for the association to keep up with funding. And also because the law has recently changed in Mexico, and it has affected very significantly the organizations of civil society in general. And the way taxing and the government overseeing of social organizations and associations has been tightening up very strongly. So these are probably the main problems. However, the College of Ethnologists and Social Anthropologists is keeping up with a biannual large meeting, which has become very important for Mexico in general, and it's also keeping work on with a very strong as a network of all the institutions in Mexico which hold careers in anthropology, and that's a very strong network that keeps up with every change in all universities and research centers in Mexico, and that's also an important thing. And it also holds some task forces on feminist anthropology and gender, and it has some publications and a bulletin. So it's a very small, it only has about 400 members. It's a small association in terms of the number of people in it, but it is probably the only association active in Mexico nowadays for anthropologists. And in that position, it has a very strong influence in what anthropology is doing in Mexico nowadays. And it's fighting for anthropology, fighting to get more positions in universities and research centers. And it's also involved in other issues as migration issues, violence, and of course the precarization of the world of the labor market for anthropologists. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Fernando. That was very interesting. And I might add that in the notes, I mean, I love reading these notes because that's true in Italy. Yeah, it's true in Brazil too. And that's true in Greece. I mean, the conversations going on here are great. And they're showing us that we have a remarkable number of similarities across associations, across continents in their associations. So that's really interesting. That's what WCA is for. And we got to make these links. Anyway, Leah, you're next.
Wait a second. I wonder in what capacity Junji is here.
Okay, Junji, I guess you're next.
I don't know.
Yes.
You
I have got at least two roles. First, as the vice president of IOAS, of course, and also I just wanted to say something about JASCA, Japanese situation, and also I wanted to have on the advisory board, but maybe I just wanted, you are just working, you're just working on the. Well, I just wanted to say something about the election of the IOAS, because that's crucial. Actually, as you should have realized that this is going to be a really historical event. It's going to be, of course, I didn't do that, but actually, this is the epoch-making event. And I just wanted to say that now we are having WCA members and IUS members together, really together, in a new united organization, which is called WOW. We have been talking about WCAA, but we need to discuss what we are going to do as WOW about finance, about membership, precarity, and so on. These are all we can share in common. And we can discuss, of course, among the WCAA, and at the same time, we can discuss these issues at the congresses. Next week we are going to have an India Congress, and of course that's a problematical. But the next year we're going to have a Congress, probably Excellence Congress in Africa. Helen is organized something, right? So we are going to have something really, we can do a lot of things at the Congress, which we are going to work together, because one thing we achieved at the SC steering committee of the WCAA and IUAS, which is for for WOW, is this is which achieved that we are going to agreed that we are going to Congress. We are going to make the Congress together. That's the most important. I just wanted to say
Gingy, that's
that.
great, but this is a meeting of their society. Tell us about Japan.
Yeah. Oh, yes. That's something. Actually, only I and Gordon are from Asia. That's a problem. I think that's a really problem.
Wait, Skilty
the
is
absence,
too.
absence of
We have a Filipino
Asia.
here.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. I didn't know that from the beginning. I thought that I counted 3.
No.
But anyway, the Japan is not represented. I know that there are some Sachiko and others, but somehow they are not circulated the news, and somehow they are not connecting to Japanese association to WCAA or WOW. So that's a problem, and it's something we perhaps I was going to propose that Gordon write something about to the JASCA, in order to ask them to send representatives. I am of course I'm past president of JASCA, but right now the present board is of course interested, but they are not doing anything about the international associations. Only the younger generation people are individually they are interested in WCAA or IUAS and other. But so and there are a number of younger people, but I think we need to make the JASCA to be interested in these objects, the works by the WCAA and so on. So.
Okay, Junji, then you're absolutely right. I've seen that myself too. Send me a couple of names and I will write them. But tell me who to.
Please.
Yeah,
yes.
Please do that. I'll be glad to do that. Send me by email. I can do that. Great. You're absolutely right. I've noticed that that's a problem because Japan's the second largest anthropological association in the world, I think. So we need them.
Yes, actually, yeah. And actually, we helped our big conference in Osaka as Fernando attended. Mauzi was there, and it was a good meeting. So JASCA should be commended.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah,
Gordon, you know what's interesting in some ways? Sachiko Kubota, who is now president of
yes.
some career, was both on the IUAS board and the
right
and under Carmen, right? The WCAA board.
Exactly.
So, she's very well connected. But
well, I mean, she's a dear friend of mine, but she's also president of the university now. And so she has enough other pressures in her life. But I've written her asking her to join us, and she just apologizes profusely. Leah, we've kept you waiting a long time. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. Well, I am Leah Ferrero. I am currently the president of the Latin American Anthropological Association. I am Argentinian. I am also an elected member of the WCAA-OC. But at this point, I will be addressing the question that was sent to us as a delegate, not as a member of the WCAA. Well, the Latin American Anthropological Association is an association of associations. Since its beginning in the late 1980s, its main concern has been the recognition of anthropologies carried out in the region. This was based on understanding a scenario in which there was little dialogue between our anthropologies and often no knowledge between them. We found, and still find today, that colleagues from Latin America and the Caribbean know much more about the history and production of North Atlantic anthropologies than about local histories and their own productions. So one of our main concerns has been, and continues to be, the politics of ignorance derived from the global north, which makes us unaware of who we are as anthropologists from the south. To counteract these policies of ignorance, we have developed different projects in our association. We have a series of books called Anthropologies Carried Out in Latin America and the Caribbean. So far, we have published volumes on anthropologies made in Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela, and Peru. We also promote a series of virtual or face-to-face meetings around this theme or subject. During 2023, for example, we held an academic conference in Santa Marta, Colombia, to discuss anthropologies that are made in the Caribbean, and another one in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, to discuss anthropologies that are made in Brazil, and another one in Chile to discuss anthropologies that are made in Chile. We published a journal called Plural Anthropologies from Latin America and the Caribbean. This journal goes against the dictates of the current publishing ecosystem, which leads to the harmonizations of productions in pursuit of or based on what is indicated by indexes and metrics. The journal is an explicitly non-indexed journal, which allows the anthropological imaginations to take place there, and the possibilities of publishing are not bound by business criteria. We organize webinars around issues that concerns our anthropologies, such as the implementation in our region of the Article 169 from the International Labour Organization. We have what we call grupos de trabajo, working groups, task forces that bring together colleagues from all over Latin America and the Caribbean around thematic issues. We have 26 working groups that bring together around 500 anthropologists from the region. We hold a congress every 3 years in which, based on a proposal defined by the association, we invite colleagues from the region primarily, but not exclusively, to meet and discuss their work and research based on those criteria. Our next Congress will be held in March 2024 in Argentina and is entitled Anthropologies that are Made in Latin America and the Caribbean in Urgent Context, Violence, Privilege, and Inequalities. All these projects lead us to reinforce the idea of anthropologies in the plural, in the sense that Eduardo Restrepo gives to this notion. If we think of anthropology as what anthropologists do, in all these encounters, dialogues, and reunions, we find that histories, interests, approach, perspectives, cultural heroes, and methodologies are diverse among anthropologies. So it is, we think, epistemologically violent for us to try to encompass everything in a single definition of anthropology. Although as ALA, our political academic commitment is to anthropologies from the South, in the sense that Esteban Crotz gives to the concept, we understand that the anthropologies that are carried out in Latin America and the Caribbean are those kind of anthropologies, and at the same time, they are not. And therein lays our political dispute for our anthropologies to be relevant in the sense that Gustavo Nils Ribeiro gives to this notion in his article about the relevance of anthropology in the context of the global shift to the right. I will leave it there for now. Thank you.
Okay, Leah, great statement. You know, we disagree as to anthropologies, but that's fine. And that could be a good subject for a task force. Do we have a single discipline? I tend to believe in, divided we fall, united we stand. We need to be a single discipline, but I do appreciate your point of view, and that is important. We need to discuss that, and I hope we will in the future. You're doing a lot of stuff. Great. I'm happy that you guys are so active. Now, we only have I don't want to go beyond 2 hours for this meeting. So let's do something really quickly. Bella's been waiting, but we also have a number of people, Carmen, Clara, various people, Virginia, who else? Francesca, who haven't said anything. Do you guys want to chip in anything quickly?
Yeah, I can just tell that I like very much this meeting. Congratulations, Gordon, for organizing it. We are
Bella did really, but anyway, yeah. Sure,
yeah, and I think that Bella proposed important projects. We didn't have the time to discuss it, so so maybe we should have one meeting for each one of these projects in the future. 1 hour meeting doesn't have to last longer. But I think they deserve a little bit more of our attention because they're really good proposal. It was very good to meet all these people that are my friends. I don't want to take any more time. I'll see you in India, I hope. And that's it.
Yeah, great.
Oh,
Gordon, if I may say something, we always have this problem in delegates meeting, being presential meetings or online meetings. There's always the same problem, which is, presidents shift. So people have to present themselves and also present what their associations are doing. And by the time we do that, the time is gone.
Yeah.
So I do think Carmen is right. And that, of course, Bella's proposals are excellent, both. And we should definitely, schedule new meetings to discuss specifically the projects now that we talk to each other and we all know what we're doing. And I think that's a major thing. And one of the things I wanted to say as organizer of the webinars is that this month we didn't have a webinar exactly because we were doing this delegates meeting. And I think this is also crucial because we've been touching upon a lot of the issues that people mention on the chat in the webinar, such, for instance, what Muggsy says about auditing and editorial policies. We've been discussing that on webinars. Of course, there's a lot more things to discuss, but we can have those webinars and these meetings because they are needed. Otherwise, what happens in the webinars is not everybody shows up, of course. And the delegates meeting, I think, brings people together. And I think that's one of our aims in WCA and of course in WOW. And Gordon is now the chair. I'm the deputy chair of WCA, and that is definitely, I think, Gordon, one of our aims, right, is to really bring people together and make people, the delegates, the different associations work together, which is something that has not really been done thus far so well, right?
And Clara, you're absolutely right. That's what we've been trying to do. Now, the purpose of this meeting was to get together and talk about the last 5 years worth of problems. I want to thank Michelle right now here. Michelle, are you here? Raise your hand. I don't see you.
Oh, I'm here.
Okay, you're here. Well, I want to thank you. You've been taking notes. You've been watching this really closely. What I want you to do, and I'll be glad to help you in any way I can, is come up with the minutes. And also, if you might be able to send some way we could all get in touch with each other, because I think for Bella's proposals, it would be better for various people to sign up. I would like to see these as task forces myself. You may or may not want to do this, but some way we could link this with what we're already doing. Terrific. That would be great. You don't have to do this, Bella, but it might be one way to proceed. But let's thank Michelle, and we'll continue this. We've been discussing the last 5 years of problems here, and I think we have a lot of commonalities. Now, Muggsy, you go first, and then Bella, you can finish. Okay?
Oh, I just wanted to tell something before Muggsy, and I go.
Okay, sure. Speak up then. Go ahead.
I just want to say that this meeting is very important for our project about both conversational anthropology. This is why I want to pick up this after Muggsy said. Muggsy and other people want to talk. Thank you very much.
Okay, and Andrea writes, you've presented, Bella, an overall idea for both projects, and perhaps you can now have a chance to narrow them down after this round. Great, that you can do, and you could find a specific number of people to work with. Terrific, that would be a good idea. So great, I hope we've had a good start for this. Virginia, and then Muggsy?
Wait.
Francisco, yeah.
Shouldn't Muggsy go first?
Oh, sure, go ahead. I just see a lot of hands up. Muggsy, go ahead.
Right.
That doesn't matter what order, but let me speak quickly.
Go ahead. I'll speak quickly.
I deferred from speaking earlier because I didn't feel I was a representative of an association, and I knew my association chair was here, or president, and he's now left. Just to introduce myself for those who are here and don't know me, I was a member of the organizing committee quite early on. I've been a leading member of the IUAES for a long time, but no longer. And I've remained involved in the advisory committee. And I also want to say that I agree that I think Bella's ideas need to be discussed more thoroughly than is possible as ideas that come from one association. But I also think a whole lot of other ideas have come up. And so they may, in the minutes, if Michelle can do that, there may be a space for a number of discussions over the next couple of years to start getting things going. So that's all I want to say.
And Michelle has just sent out the minutes right now. Thank you, Michelle. That was instant. That was terrific. Great. Thank you. Virginia, Francesca, Virginia, and then Bella. Go ahead.
Francesca should go first. I'll go last.
Right. I wanted to say, I think that this meeting has been very, very successful in the sense that we wanted to have an expression of what the problems are, not who you are and what is your association that was happening before, but really to have more of a grasp of what is going on. So I think this has been very interesting. I want to so we will see how we can do it. We can proceed. I think we can really do other meetings on the two other projects that we have been thinking about. Now, I wanted just to clarify one thing. It's not that I think that anthropology, or we think that anthropology is against the sociologists or whatever. The thing is that anthropologists don't find jobs. And so in a way or another, there is more precariousness and less places where they can work in so many countries. So this is an issue. It's not just a discipline, contentions or conflict. I mean, that's not really what we care for. That's what I want.
Thanks. You're absolutely right. Yep.
Okay. We're very close to the end. I just want to say, I think this is probably my last meeting since I was just elected IUS Secretary General, but that takes, I don't know, that takes place in mid-October. I mean, I officially am still a member of the WCAOC. I would very much like, and Isaac is president, who was elected president, who was Gordon's predecessor here. So It varies. I would very much like the IUAS and the WCAA to work together, and as I think my WCAA-OC members know, I would very much like IUAS to be maybe faster and more efficient than it has been. We'll see if that's possible, but anyway, I think this has been a terrific meeting, and I hope there are many more.
Great. And I hope to see you again. If Junji can come, you can come too. So we'll see.
Yes.
Sometimes, yeah. Yes. Okay, Bella, last word.
Okay, I want to say that I am really very pleased with the meetings. And when I presented the proposals, not mine, but our WCA proposals to involve the associations, the question really was like, what main question, what are the pressing issues of the times for the association? And I think it came out. And I think that, yes, the next meeting about conversations among anthropologists, world anthropologists, has to have really one, we have to develop this in a series of seminars, a series of conversations among anthropologists on these issues, exactly of precarity, the rise of neo-fascism, and the situation of anthropology itself, and think collectively through a series of seminars. And this eventually could really turn into a task force. In fact, there is a task force on precarity, but I don't want to lose this momentum. And I don't know, like, what is the way to get in touch with you people, or if we can leave our emails or WhatsApps. I don't know, like Michelle maybe can have a good idea, but I think that I would start with following up the conversations. I don't know what my colleagues think about with people that approach exactly these problems, and as Gordon said, this cut across continents, and so we have to have the seminars with associations from different continents. I think a series of webinars and other things are going to come out. I think we don't have to close it, but this is a pressing issue, and this is what we wanted to know. So I think that we were very successful in this way, and I hope that you get involved with WCAA. We are getting stronger.
Great, let's do that, Bella. And Michelle is sending out all that information. You will get it. You will have contact with everybody. So
I just want to say that this meeting has been recorded.
It has.
Send the link to everyone. Yes. I think it's very good.
It's great.
It will be.
Let me just say one last thing. I know this has been very successful in terms of who has come and what people have said, and that's very helpful. But didn't you say, Gordon? I think Gordon and Bella said we have 56 member associations. They're not all here. So they're not all here. And in fact, I don't know why they're not all here. This has come up a little bit here, but I would really like many more participants. So.
Yeah, I'm very happy with this myself, because to me this is quite successful. You know, not only 40% of the population or 50% of the population votes in an election. I'm happy with this because people who are here who want to talk. But having said that, you're right. I think the number will go up in the future. We'll see. Yeah. Okay, let's stop now. It's been 2 hours, but thank you very much. It's been great hearing from you, and we will take all this very seriously, and we will proceed in the direction Bella's describing. I have some other directions going on too, but I hope I'll be seeing a lot of you in the future. All of us will be seeing a lot of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.